Well, the Europa League draw takes place on Friday, and Rangers will be in the knockout stages of that draw. And as we know, guys, it is not for everyone, is it? Let's face it, playing in Europe after Christmas in the knockout stage, it's just not for everyone. If you're in the wrong half of the city, you just don't like it, do you? That must be the explanation for why you repeatedly keep getting embarrassed and knocked out of Europe early. Well, Rangers will find out their opponents on Friday. And we're going to look a little bit sort of ahead now to the best and worst case scenarios, with obviously looking at the ties that are coming up on Thursday night in this competition, which obviously it'd be good after Christmas in March to get back to Thursday nights being Rangers nights in Europe. And there is a number of ties taking place tomorrow, and we'll look ahead to those very shortly. However, one positive of this draw is with Rangers being seeded going into it, they will therefore avoid the likes of Liverpool, West Ham, and Bayer Leverkusen, who are obviously in cracking form. Liverpool, top of the English Premier League, Bayer Leverkusen, top of the Bundesliga, after absolutely cleaning the floor with Bayern Munich the other day. So, and with their young manager, Xavi Alonso, who is attracting attention from both Bayern and Liverpool as to be their next manager, it'd be good to avoid the likes of Liverpool, Bayer, and West Ham. So, who could Rangers theoretically face in the next round of the UEFA Europa League? Let's have a little look at the ties as they stand at this moment in time, and then we'll pick out some possible teams we may want to avoid at the end of the day. So here are the ties as they stand at this moment in time. So the Freiburg-Lens tie is very much close, with it being 0-0. Freiburg are favourites to progress, with them having the home leg. The other tie there, Rennes versus AC Milan. Likelihood obviously is that Milan will progress from that, given the fact they have a 3-0 aggregate lead coming out of the home leg. Then Toulouse versus Benfica. Again, a very delicately balanced tie. 2-1 at the moment to Benfica, 2-1 at the Stadium of Light in Lisbon. Toulouse, though, will fancy their chances at home of overturning that lead. So again, a very close tie. Karabag are 4-2 up on Braga. Again, it's highly likely with Braga been 4-2 down from their own home leg that Braga are on their way out. So no repeat of the Rangers Braga tie from our last European run, for those of you who are hoping to get a little bit of Braga back in your life. Let's move on, have a look at the next one. So the other game, Sparta Prague, who only lost 3-2 in Istanbul, which is quite an achievement given that Galatasaray is often seen as being a very tricky place to go. So either of those two teams could be tricky for Rangers. Sparta Prague will fancy their chances of getting through and progressing to the next round, given the fact they scored 2 goals against Galatasaray already in Galatasaray. The other game, Sporting Lisbon, already 3-1 up on Young Boys. So it looks like Sporting will be progressing from that tie, especially with their all singing, all dancing, super talented striker, Victor Gyökeres, who they paid a lot of money for from Coventry, who has one of the best strike rates in the whole of Europe. The Marseille Shakhtar Donetsk tie, again, very delicately balanced at 2-2, although Marseille will fancy their chances of progressing with the tie being in Marseille. Obviously, as well, could Rangers fancy a bit of a revenge mission against Marseille after that European Cup defeat way back when? And the final tie, which is arguably one of the ties of the round, again, very delicately paralysed, poised even. Jose Mourinho, less Roma now. He's gone. One, Feyenoord, the Dutch champions, who are not having as an effective a season this season, but still are a threat away from home. Roma, though, will fancy their chances at home in the Stadio Olimpico. So, look, they are the teams that we could possibly face in this next round. Now, like I've said, it is great news that we don't have to face the likes of Liverpool, the likes of West Ham, and the likes of Bayer Leverkusen in the next round. A lot of hopes, I think, in the fan base that we can have one of those great European runs that we've had in the past. And, like that run to Seville, can we recapture those fantastic nights? Now, realistically, guys, let me know in the comments down below, who would you like out of all those teams in the next round? Who would be your pick if you could just pick Rangers opponents? Now, we've been looking at this and looking at the 5 better options. I don't think at this stage of the competition there are any easy ties. There never are in European competition. European teams are always better prepared. The pitches are better, thank God. They have a higher class of player. They have to have got to this stage of the competition. So who are the teams that, perhaps that are to avoid and the teams that we'd want to play of the possible opponents for Rangers? Well, obviously, Freiburg and Lens would be two opponents that you might want to favour. Again, not particularly strong opponents. The German outfit are not in great form in the Bundesliga. Lens are not great in the champion in their domestic division, and obviously we have some inside information on them from Oscar Cortez as well. So again, Freiburg and Lens possibly could be one of those more easier opponents. Another possible tie, looking at that tie, is between Toulouse and Benfica. You probably would want to face Toulouse over the Portuguese giants. At the end of the day, they are probably the easier of those two opponents. They sit 13th in League 1 now, and they've only won 5 of their 22 league games this season. They're not on very good form, and if they do manage to somehow get past Benfica, they could be an easier opponent. Looking obviously at that Sparta Prague Galatasaray tie, if Sparta were to progress, would we fancy a return mission with Sparta? And they did give us a few problems in the group stages, but we know them. I suppose they know us, but we've developed and moved on since we played them last. And I think Sparta could be a tie. It could be a tie that we would obviously favour getting and probably going through from. Given that we've obviously already got some background on them, and like I said, we have moved on since we last played them. There is obviously other options there, Young Boys and Rennes, but they're unlikely to progress. Now, who would you want to avoid, guys? Let me know in the comments who is your want to desperately need to avoid. But then again, I suppose we look at it in terms of the fact we probably would have all said that we wanted to avoid playing Borussia Dortmund, didn't we? In the run to Seville, but we went to the Westfalenstadion and absolutely smashed them. So who are the teams you want to avoid? Well, looking at how the ties are set up and looking at the probable teams to come through those ties, you would say that AC Milan are the team that you would definitely want to avoid. Obviously, they finished third and were unlucky to do so in their Champions League group and are in I think third place in Serie A this season, and again having a pretty decent season. They've got some pretty talented players as well, like Olivier Giroud, Rafa Leao, Christian Pulisic. And they are very difficult to beat. So AC Milan perhaps would be one team you'd want to avoid. Another team could be another Italian team. Now, we know Italian teams are always difficult to beat. The way they set up away from home, the way they then go at you at home, the tricks, the other things that the Italian teams bring. AS Roma are another team we may want to look at avoiding. Obviously, Jose Mourinho has now departed, but they're still a strong team with some very talented players like Romelu Lukaku and Pablo Dybala. Both of them are exceptionally talented players. Benfica, another powerhouse of European football. Again, you go through some of these names and it's a bit Champions League-esque at times, isn't it, really, with the names that are coming up as possible opponents in this next round of the Europa League. The Portuguese Giants are top of their domestic division. They've only lost once in league football all season. They're probably likely to progress against a weak Toulouse team who are in bad form, even though they only take a 2-1 lead to Toulouse. So again, they would be a tough opponents for us. Marseille, God, would... Well, it could have been a lot more interesting, if Gennaro Gattuso was still their manager. Obviously, he has now been sacked. Would have been great to bring Reno back to Glasgow, but obviously that will not happen. Currently, Marseille have obviously not doing great this season. They sit 9th in League 1, but obviously are looking to improve now under a new manager. They're flying. In Europe, they finished their group second behind Brighton after a 3-3 draw with Ajax and a 4-3 win over the Dutch Giants. So they're a good team. Brighton, obviously, another team we will avoid, thank goodness. Gattuso obviously has been sacked, but they have some very talented players like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Ismail Sarr, and Iliman Ndiaye. So there is some talent in that team, some real quality in that team that again, maybe a team that you may want to avoid. Now, a surprise team that you might want to avoid in this draw is Qarabag. Now, I know, like you say, well, Qarabag? Why would you want to avoid a Qarabag? No, Qarabag. Why would you want to avoid Qarabag? Surely, they're a nothing team. Yeah, well, they're 4-2 up against Braga, and they're obviously not the biggest name in this competition when you've got the likes of AC Milan and Roma and Liverpool and Ajax, Liverpool and Brighton and West Ham and like Bayer Leverkusen and Rangers, obviously, but Qarabag are a tricky team, and you would have to go to Azerbaijan for the away leg, not a place that you'd really want to go. A very tough away leg. Obviously, you'd have to do a real smash and grab job there if you want to get anything. But the foundations would have to be done or or undone at Ibrox if you were in a tricky position, and if the Rangers home leg was second. So Karabag could be one of those tricky ties just because of the location of the team, and they would be a dark horse of a team to face. So let me know, guys, who would you like to face in the next round of the UEFA Europa League? Look, I'm looking at it. I'm looking through those teams that are still in the competition. Yes, of course, I would like us to get an easier team to play. But if I could pick anyone, you know what? I want a revenge mission against Marseille. I want my own back on them. I'm going to go for Marseille to face them and to beat them over 2 legs and obviously get a little semblance of revenge for the past. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. And as always, guys, on the way out, 2 things you can do for me. Number 1 is smash the like. And number 2 is always remember, we are the people.